Have you ever seen cavalry charge across a frozen sea to capture a fleet of ships? How about 14 warships and 850 cannons?
Well, it's one of the most improbable military stories ever. And it happened right here in the Netherlands during the brutal winter of 1795. The Dutch fleet was trapped in the ice of the Zuiderzee, also known as the IJsselmeer. And the French saw their chance.
You heard that right. Not a single shot was fired during this entire battle. The French didn't have the firepower to destroy the fleet, but they did something even better. They simply rowed across the ice and took the ships by surprise. A single regiment of French hussars, around 300 men on horseback, rowed out onto the frozen sea and charged across the ice. How did these horsemen manage to capture so much firepower without firing a single shot? It was an incredible victory for Napoleon and the French, and it was one that changed the course of history. While you're there, remember the amazing story of how the French hussars took over the Dutch fleet on the frozen waters of the Zuiderzee? And the French knew that if they waited too long, the ships would be freed and the opportunity would be lost. So they struck at just the right moment. The hussars rowed out onto the ice-jammed sea and charged across the frozen water. They reached the ships before the sailors could react and simply took them over. What followed can only be described as a miracle. The hussars, led by the legendary General Napoleon Bonaparte, managed to capture 14 Dutch warships and 850 cannons without a single shot being fired. But they were well trained and their horses were strong. They reached the ships safely and carried out their attack with precision and speed. This is a moment that has never been repeated in military history, a cavalry taking over a fleet of ships. But how did they do it? Well, it all came down to timing. The Dutch fleet was trapped in the ice, unable to move. It was a brilliant military maneuver, a daring gamble that paid off in a big way. Napoleon and his men had taken over one of the largest navies in the world without firing a single shot. It was a feat that stunned the world and made Napoleon's reputation as a military genius. But it wasn't easy. The hussars had to ride across a frozen sea, a dangerous journey in itself. In the end, they captured 14 warships and 850 cannons, a prize that was worth more than all of the gold in the Dutch treasury. So next time you're in Amsterdam, be sure to visit the Anne Frank house. Thanks for watching. See you next time.